What a pleasant surprise to get not only a good movie in January, but one that's so good that it makes the audience burst into applause. And I'm hearing that happened at other press screenings as well at a very specific moment. So you gotta go just for that. And I'll be curious to hear, don't spoil what the point in the movie is, but let me know if your audience applauds as well. I think it's impossible not to. It's that incredible. Now, I had no idea what to expect going into 28 years later, The Bone Temple. All I knew was I really didn't like the last movie. It had changed directors from Danny Boyle to Nia DaCosta, and I think we're all eager to see her move past the whole Marvel situation. She does. And also, it had very good word of mouth. I knew that people were saying this was good, so I was like, okay, let's see what's happening here. And I have to say, I don't know. I think the movie's really, really good on its own, but I do think that having like rock bottom expectations and being able to be surprised by how this story unfolded was an absolute delight. What a great experience, especially these days, to know nothing about the film. And so this is a non-spoiler review, as it always would be for a movie like this, but I'm going to work very hard. I've worked very hard here not to spoil anything, because I want to make sure that a lot of you have the same experience. I'm going to touch on a few things because I think it'll help you to appreciate the movie more as you watch it. But yeah, I want you to have the same fantastic experience that I did. So to me, The Bone Temple feels like its own story. I was like, so one of you asked me after I said it was so good last night on Twitter, do I need to watch the last one? And at first I was like, no, just go in, have a great time. I said it would help. But you're allowed to bring a guest to these press screenings. And the person I brought with me, I was talking to them about it after I responded to that tweet. And they were like, man, I had a hard time following that because they hadn't seen the last one. So maybe you should go watch the last one. I'm a little reluctant to tell you to do it because I disliked it so much. And I think for most people, it's a slog. But I think it'll help you with this movie. So you might want to check it out. It's on Netflix, in fact, right now. And most people have Netflix, so it won't even cost you anything. You can also check out my review to see what I thought of that film. And I think one of my biggest problems with it was that it was just really, I think, too sad. And there wasn't enough else there to balance that out. And it doesn't have the best audience scores. A lot of people agreed with me, and it ended up not doing great at the box office to the point where they were like, maybe we shouldn't make the third 28 Years Later movie. They're going to make it. Thank goodness, because now I want to see it. But some people, I want to be fair, do like 28 Years Later from last year. So you might as well roll the dice. Maybe you'll be one of them. And at the end of the day, it's worth your time because it will help you to better understand and appreciate this masterpiece. Oh my goodness. It's funny. Alex Garland, to me, is really hit or miss. But when he hits, he hits. And I think that these two 28 Years Later movies really represent both sides of his storytelling, right? And Bone Temple fits with the movies of his that I really like. But I know some of you like the other ones. Maybe some of you even prefer the other ones. So you might not like this as much. I'm very curious to see what the reaction is. I can't imagine anybody not liking this movie. This is just incredible. So yeah, let's discuss what I think of The Bone Temple, again, with no spoilers. So yeah, as I tweeted when I came out of The Bone Temple yesterday, I went from thinking this franchise was donezo, stick a fork in it, to now I'm like, give me the third film. Oh, I'm so excited. I want it now. This movie is that good. Someone was like, does it end on a cliffhanger? Yes, they're going to make a third movie and it's going to be glorious. I hope it's, I don't know. I think we're 1 for 2. Some of you will maybe think that this 28 Years Later is 2 for 2. Maybe some of you think it's 0 for 2, but this is really good. I think it's funny. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson maybe really is a curse. And I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's particularly recently turned into a pretty darn good actor. But man, there just seems to be something about him. As I said, he might be a little bit of a jinx. But on that note, what's fascinating about The Bone Temple is that it has no leading man or men. It is instead two brilliant character actors going mano-a-mano. I'm talking about Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell. Both of their work here is absolutely exquisite. You're like, oh, this is so great. Who doesn't love to see a character? That's one of the great things about the way Hollywood has evolved. Character actors do go front and center more and more. But it's like Alex Garland took the Jesse Plemons character from Civil War, who stole that entire movie with just a couple of lines, and gave him his own movie. Which, especially after this film, I'm like, do it, Garland. I'd love to see that. Now, because this is an Alex Garland film, it's deep in meaning. While uncharacteristically Garland shied away from any real commentary in Civil War, perhaps it was the American setting. Maybe he didn't feel comfortable about commenting on a different country, but this takes place in the UK. But what I think he talks about here is universal, interestingly enough. And he more than makes up for his deficiencies in Civil War. I'm sure someone's like, I liked Civil War. Well, good for you. I did not. And that movie, I think that had a better reaction than 28 Years Later, I think. All right, but this is a fascinating look at how two men deal very differently with processing a zombie apocalypse. One gets lost in emotion and religion, while the other clings to intellect and science. Oh, it's so good. It is a fascinating study of opposites that comes more and more into focus as the movie progresses. And what unfolds is so incredible and so well done. We are definitely going to talk about it in a spoiler review. Oh boy! All right, so I bet you're wondering, in today's world gone mad, Alex Garland, who are you saying is who? Well, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the film. I think it's kind of open to interpretation. So, because of who makes this movie, and with Ralph Fiennes cast as Dr. Ian Kelson, the far left will assume that he represents them. And I suspect that's how Alex Garland does intend it. But as I said, I think it's open to interpretation like all great art. As I recently discussed with you, I found it surprising, but also interesting, that many people on the far right see themselves as the rebels in Star Wars and the far left as the Empire. And it took me a moment to process that. I was like, really? But then when I thought about it and how, the left has been in control of the government for a little bit now, of course, now it's flipped, but I can understand that perspective, right? I mean, let's just leave it at that. And I think that both the far right and the far left feel that the other side is the one spinning out of control. And I think that both sides might see themselves as the voice of reason that is Dr. Ian Kelson. That to me is very interesting. I hope Garland does leave it open-ended. I hope he's not like, what are you talking about? It's the far left. Because I think that will not only expand the audience for this film, but because ultimately, I would hope this film would not further divide us, but would unite us. Because I think it has ultimately a hopeful, uplifting message, I thought so, that I think leads everybody in the right direction. Let's just say, I hope everyone is as well-intentioned and as kind as Dr. Ian Kelson and other characters, no spoilers, are depicted here. So I'm like, yeah, hey man, if you want to see yourself as that and you think you're that kind and you're going to go forward with that kind of positivity, that would be great. So I'm very curious to see where Garland plans to take all of this with the third film, because this commentary isn't so much in the first film, at least I didn't think so. And I can also now understand why Cillian Murphy is willing to, Cillian or Killian, I always mess it up. I forgot to look it up before I filmed, but is willing to return to this franchise. With the last one, I was like, maybe you skip this, Murphy. You don't want it to tarnish your Oscar. You already made that Netflix school movie. I mean, I'm sorry, maybe somebody watched it and it was great. But I think all of us, when we saw that trailer, was like, that might be beneath you now. But now with this film and how good it is, this is, time for you to enter, Murphy. It's fantastic. All right, now let's talk Nia DaCosta. The Marvels didn't work out, to put it lightly. And as I've said before, I think people were a little unfair with that film, but it did really seem to reek of studio oversight and the problems that occur when new directors find themselves working within a big franchise. I don't think they have the experience or the business voice yet to really make themselves and their own viewpoint as an artist heard. And sure enough, the Marvels didn't really feel like a Nia DaCosta film, right? Because when I saw her Candyman film, co-written and produced by Jordan Peele, I think we were all struck by how strong she was as a director visually. And that element wasn't in the Marvels. It didn't have the same strong visuals. Candyman had a lot of issues, to be fair, but I don't think they were Nia DaCosta's fault. I think they were primarily, although she did work on the script, although we don't know how much. There's multiple writers credited on that. And I think that the issues really boil down to the script there. But sure enough, the visuals on the Bone Temple are stunning and meaningful. And I was like, there you are, Nia DaCosta. You are, I mean, it's so wonderful that she was allowed to direct here. Right? I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, if you're going to go and get such talented directors, let them do what they do, you know, even if they are working within the confines of a franchise. I think a franchise, actually, on that note, I'm just thinking of that. I don't think working in a franchise should restrict, but it should instead elevate the audience and what you can do because you have a big budget and stuff like that, and the toys you get to play with. Also, speaking of toys you get to play with, thank goodness that the stunt of filming on iPhones does not continue here. And so therefore, once again, feels like a proper movie. And it's not just the visuals that are strong, but DaCosta does a wonderful job bringing Garland's script to life, the big and small moments. I think she really solidifies herself here as a top-notch genre director. And I hope she gets another shot at franchise work. I'd love to see her do more horror. I think the horror space with this and Candyman is really good for her. And I was thinking what horror franchises are available right now. And I was like, Alien Romulus 2 needs a new director after Fede Alvarez decided he just wants to produce. Heck, you know, for the third 28 Years Later movie, they haven't decided on a director just yet. Alex Garland will return to script, of course, but they haven't said who's going to direct. And I can't believe I'm saying this, I would be disappointed if they went back to Danny Boyle. I'm like, Nia DaCosta's doing a great job. Let's stick with what works. So besides her numerous stunning shots of the English countryside, so beautiful, two standouts here for her are how tastefully she handles the gore and the violence. Knowing just the right moment to cut away, to let your imagination fill in the terrifying blanks. And the movie doesn't wimp out. It goes right up to the edge beautifully. I think this is a master class in not going for, some people appreciate the overkill, but I think this was really excellent. It was almost Hitchcockian. She went right to the point she needed to just get you uncomfortable and disturbed enough. And then she let your imagination take it from there. And that I think is very, very, very effective. And I think makes for a more intelligent film. And then also there's a sequence with Ralph Fiennes that, this is the one that got everyone to applaud. I won't tell you what the context is or where it takes place in the movie, but it's amazing. It's worth the price of admission alone. So yes, Ralph Fiennes. Let's talk about the cast. As I watched this movie, just in awe of what Ralph Fiennes does here, I was like, could he get nominated for acting for the Bone Temple? Do we live in a world where that could happen? And I think we might, because Demi Moore, Hugh Grant, and Michael B. Jordan even have paved the way for awards noms for work in horror. So maybe. I think some of you might be like, that sounds ridiculous, but you haven't seen the Bone Temple yet. And I think once you do, you'll be like, how can we get Ralph Fiennes nominated? Fiennes is just that good here. It's just an incredible performance and one of his best performances, which is impressive considering how high he set the bar. Maybe he's going to do something amazing in the Hunger Games movie. I'm all in on Ralph Fiennes right now after Conclave and this. The man can do no wrong, in my opinion. When I saw the last movie, I was disappointed that his character felt underused. But they make up for that here. He is front and center. On the flip side is Jack O'Connell, who already terrified audiences in Sinners, right? But here he gets considerable more screen time as well. And he really goes for it. It's incredible. It's an amazing performance. I think at the end of the last movie, the Jimmies kind of came out of nowhere. Intentionally so, but I think audiences, we were like, what's happening? And people kind of laughed them off, right? But they really come into focus here, and there's a reason for why they're here. I want to stress to you on that note that there is a point to all this madness. I think as this movie first unfolded, I felt a little lost. I was like, where are you going here, Garland and DaCosta? But I urge you to think about duality as you watch the movie and opposites. and also what people might do when civilization is yanked out from under them as you, again, watch this film. Just trust the film and trust me, I'm telling you, because so often we're let down by entertainment these days. But this is a case where everything will come together beautifully by the end of the film. So just let yourself experience it and enjoy the ride. Alfie Williams is back with a much smaller role this time, but still excellent. And Aaron Kellyman, also from Marvel, also not getting the best treatment there, also gets to shine and with a really strong performance as one of the Jimmies. Emma Laird is another one of the Jimmies, and she also really stands out. She reminded me of Harley Quinn. I'm a comic book fan. I see the world through comic book lenses a lot of the times. And I mean, I don't know. Not only that, but I mean, when you see her performance, you're like, oh, that's Harley Quinn. That's the 28 years later version of Harley Quinn. But she did a really nice job. And I thought it was interesting that the two Jimmies that stand out the most are the two female Jimmies. And I wonder if that's how Alex Garland intended it, or if perhaps Nia DaCosta elevated their presence in the film. But whatever the reason, I think it turned out great. Finally, I think we all feel that the zombie genre has kind of been done to death at this point. Right? But it's been a lot. But one of the things that I enjoyed so much, another one, I mean, I loved so much about this movie, but here's another element, and that's that it introduces a lot of new elements to the genre, and it made it feel fresh and new. And considering how overdone the zombie genre is right now, it's amazing that it manages to do that. But I was like, oh, I love this for the zombie genre. Oh, I'm so excited to go in this direction. In fact, when thinking about the world that we live in today, again, I think this movie is very timely. What they do with the zombies was, I think, particularly meaningful. It was really beautiful, actually. I don't want to spoil anything, so all I'll say, and you might have seen this headline as well, but Lewis Parry, who plays Samson, did a recent interview where he said he was disappointed that everyone just paid attention to his giant prosthetic rather than his character in the last movie. And it's like, dude, Danny Boyle put it front and center, swinging it around all over the place. I mean, the camera was pretty much at that level. What do you want from us? And I was like, I feel bad for you, buddy, but I don't think it's going to happen. Well, after seeing this movie, it did happen. I was amazed with his performance here and what they did with his character. I can't wait to talk to you about it. So yes, you got to go see The Bone Temple. Not only because it puts this franchise back on top when it comes to the zombie genre, but so we can talk about it and geek out over the next movie. All right, so that's my review of The Bone Temple hitting theaters this weekend. Go see it. See it in premium format. Have a great time. Oh, boy. Subscribe today so you know when that spoiler review goes up. And, of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.